Hi, thanks for joining me today. Would you like to know something special that can really help with communication in step families? Subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell, and I'll let you know every time I post. Communication can so often go wrong anytime, anywhere, in any situation you're in. But in step families, there are some things that you can do to maybe help yourself that little bit more. Because the emotions can really run high and people can take offence so easily at what you say. And this is ever true of being a step parent. So what can you do to help yourself from letting those communications go wrong? Well, the first thing is not to communicate difficult messages when you are stressed, wrung out, hung up by what's going on, and it all just is going to come out feeling emotional. Best in a step parenting situation to avoid saying anything at that point unless it's dangerous. But mainly hold back until you're calm enough to speak about whatever it is you're wanting to speak about in a measured way that means that you can listen. So let a day or two pass before you talk about anything that you're going to find difficult to say. The second thing is to recognise that there is a gap between what somebody says to you and what you respond. Just because somebody has said something to you does not force you to say a particular thing in response. That gap allows for choice. They have chosen to say something. There's a gap, and then you have chosen to respond. And that gap allows you to respond and think about things in different ways. Just because somebody said something doesn't mean you had to say something in response. It doesn't work like that. You can choose what you respond and how you respond. So don't forget the gap when you're communicating in a step family. And finally, you can think that communicating is about telling somebody something. And you, as the step parent, are often in a position where you are needing to tell somebody something. You are, after all, the adult in the situation, and you are the step parent. But just remember that communication is not just about blurting it out or telling your truth or saying it as you see it. That's quite aggressive. When you think about communication, best communication is when it's equal. It's talking and listening, talking and listening. Listening is as important as talking. So it's tempting when you're trying to get something out just to say it. But in a step family, particularly, I would say that it is worth thinking about how something you are going to say is going to land with that other person. If it's going to land and not be accepted and be rejected and they're going to take offence at it, then it is worth considering how you could say what you are wanting to say in a way that will help them understand what you're trying to say better. Now, this often means thinking about what you're about to say from their point of view before you say it. And think to yourself, well, how would I feel if somebody said that to me? How would I respond? And sometimes it often means doing something like taking into account how they might be feeling or thinking on the subject. Like you could say, I know you're tired, but it is always helpful if you tidy up before you do something else. Or I know that you have no enthusiasm for this, but it's really important for the family that. It's often about acknowledging how they might be feeling and thinking rather than just insisting on something. Or it might be about asking it as a question instead of doing the telling. So, I want you to keep this door shut could be put as a question. Is it, could you possibly keep this door shut? It keeps the room warmer. I don't know. It's if you can ask things as a question, it can come across as more acceptable. Just think of it this way. If you blurt something out because you want it said, it can come across as quite aggressive. What you're wanting is for it to be equal and for you to be able to have more of a discussion about it and for it to be two-way. On the other hand, if you shrink away and don't say anything at all because you're too frightened of what their response is going to be, then you're going to come across as passive and your rights aren't being looked after. So what you're wanting in communication is to be open and to be able to listen and talk. Listen and talk. That way you get to a kind of assertive negotiation where everybody can find that communication from you more acceptable. This can seem like quite a small point, but in step families particularly, I have found this to be a very important point. And step parents who don't look after this kind of thing in communication find life much more difficult in a step family. We run workshops, sessions, an email response service, and we write booklets. Look at the description box below for links to our social media and website.